or sponsors. Encouraging, educating, and empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It's Testimonial Monday, and our topic for today is From Diagnosis to Purpose. We are live on Intellectual Radio. We just heard from the Drive FI with Roman. Keep it locked right here on Intellectual Radio and allow us to feed your brain. On the last episode of Warriors Talk, Dr. Michelle Meeks and I discussed navigating holiday stress with resilience. You can head on over to YouTube and type in Intellectual Radio. Stay connected for any episodes you may have missed. The quote of the day is, "It is during our most darkest moments that we must focus on the light." And that quote is by Aristotle. We are so grateful for our sponsor on today. We have Emanuel Church of God in Christ with Pastor Michael Richardson, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emanuel COGIC at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emanuel COGIC-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson. And we're from the Emanuel Church of God upon a solid foundation.
My special guest today is a 2020 cancer survivor, a mother of two who lives unapologetically while inspiring her journey. After losing her sister to breast cancer in 2018, she now supports fellow warriors and will be launching a podcast to share stories of resilience and empowerment. Welcome to Warriors Talk, Tamika Walker. Hey, Tamika.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for your yes. I'm excited to hear your journey and for listeners to hear your experience so they can walk away feeling empowered.
For sure.
Yes. So I want to just make sure we are able to get your journey in on the show. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. Our topic is from diagnosis to purpose. And so I just want to talk about what your life was like before the diagnosis, like what was going on in your world.
Before being diagnosed, I was just working, taking care of my kids and living life to the fullest. Before I even got diagnosed, going through the journey with my sister at the same time of living. We were living in different states. So for me, it was me trying to be a support for her while I was here in Bolingbrook, Illinois, and she was in Arizona. So it was a little bit difficult, but my parents, they went down majority of the time to be with her while we were here. She really didn't want us to see her in that condition, but I was just here, a mother of two, trying to make it.
What was your first introduction to cancer?
My first introduction to cancer was my great-grandmother who passed away from colon cancer. But when she went through it, she was in her 80s. So it really wasn't something that we discussed as a family. She just passed at 83. And my second introduction was my sister who, when she passed, she was only 43. So that one was a little bit harder for me to grasp and understand. But her journey was the one that really pushed us to go to the cancer walks and learn as much as we can about cancer.
So you said her journey actually helped shape your journey as well before you even started going through?
Yes. When she was diagnosed, we used to do the Susan G. Corman breast cancer walk every year. We did make the news one year with the poster that we did have. It had her picture on it. So that from there, we were like, okay, every year this is something that we would do for Mother's Day. We would all pile up in the car with our pink tutus, pink socks, whatever we could find pink. That's what we did. And from her to 2 years later, me being diagnosed, it was just a huge shock for not only myself, but the entire family.
So take us through your initial diagnosis in 2020.
So in 2020, that was when COVID hit. It was in March when COVID hit, and I went to have my mammogram done. My mom pushed me. She said to me, "You need to go. Your sister was diagnosed." I'm like, "Girl, I'm living my best life. I'm good. I don't need to go get a mammogram." But I did. Um, and I'm grateful that I did go. I went for the mammogram, but they had already told me, you may get a phone call back because this is your first mammogram, so they might not be able to see the pictures clearly. And I said, "Oh, okay, no big to do." And they called me back, but they only focused on the right breast. So that was like a high alert for me. Like, okay, they only want to see one, but again, I didn't think anything of it because they had already prepared me. And after that, they stated, "Hey, I need you to come back in. We need to do a biopsy." Again, for me, didn't think anything of it because they did tell me this could potentially happen. And it was my mother who prompted to say, "Well, have you not heard anything from the doctor?" I said, "No, no news is good news in my mind." Until I went to my chart and I read that I had breast cancer. So no one ever called. I had to tell my mom, "Hey, I have breast cancer." And she was floored that no one ever reached out to communicate this diagnosis that I had.
So if you never looked in the My Chart, if you didn't even have access to the My Chart, you probably wouldn't have known until you went back maybe a year later to get your mammogram again. That's
Exactly.
unacceptable. Like that should be an immediate callback or
Immediate.
come to an appointment so we can explain to you what's going on. I think they have gotten so relaxed. It's almost like this is a diagnosis that happens all the time. So it's like, okay, it's really no immediate rush, which it should be. Wow.
Yeah. And I did call. I did call and ask them. I said, "Well, why did no one reach out to let me know this? I mean, this is cancer. You have to be on top of this." And they advised me because of the diagnosis, they put it in the system right away. They didn't know that anyone didn't call. And I'm like, "Well, I'm letting you know, y'all dropped the ball royally with this one."
That is really unacceptable. So
Yeah, it was shocking.
wow. So when you heard or read that you had breast cancer, and in the back of your mind, your sister just passed a couple of years ago from breast cancer, what are your thoughts?
Am I going to die? Am I going to make it? Am I going to be able to endure what's to come? I had so many different thoughts in my mind. And at that time, my son was only maybe 3 or 4. So I'm like, oh my God, who's going to raise my kids? How's my family going to take this? Because I'm normally the strong one and I have to go through this fight. I didn't immediately, I just thought death because my sister had just passed 2 years prior.
Now, was cancer something that you associated with death, period, even before your sister?
Honestly, before my sister, I did not. I think her journey, because she first was diagnosed, went through treatment and everything, and then it came back extremely aggressive, and she lost the fight. So after her, I immediately was like, "Oh, cancer is a killer." It took my sister, it took my great grandmother, but for her to be so young, um, immediately for me when I was diagnosed, it was a death sentence in my mind at that time.
And how old were you?
I was 37 when I was diagnosed.
So, like right now, they still have it to where the age for women to get a mammogram is 40. And we know when you have someone in your family, it should be at least 10 years before that person was diagnosed. But just even having that 40 attached to when you should get a mammogram, it's really, I think, giving people a false sense of security. Like, oh, I could wait until I get 40 to do this. And no, you can't.
Not at all. Not at all. I had to tell them, like, yeah, my sister passed. I need to get a mammogram. And that was the way that I was able to get in sooner. So now I tell people, let them know I'm your sister and I was diagnosed at 37 so that you are able to get in sooner to get your mammogram.
Did you find it hard to advocate for yourself, to actually push for them to get the necessary tests done for you because you were so young and African American?
In the beginning, it was because when I first went in there, I said, oh, I just need a mammogram. And they said, oh, well, you're too young. I'm like, okay. So that's when I had to say, okay, well, my sister passed from breast cancer and she was 43 years old. And that's when they hurried up. Oh, yeah, come on, let's go ahead and get this done. And I even took it a step further and asked for a genetic test to be done to see exactly, hey, does this run in the family? Do I need to know if my daughter has a gene within her so that we can be proactive for her? And the crazy thing about it, nothing came back on the genetic test at all. So I was just that one within my family that had to go through it.
And sometimes they say if it comes back negative on a genetic testing or that you don't have a hereditary link, sometimes they try to link it to the environment and say, well, maybe it was caused by environmental, which could mean that someone else in your family has breast cancer and y'all are living in the same environment. So whatever that environment is causing that to happen. But you two were not even in the same state.
No, we were not in the same state. And to even go deeper into it, we did not even share a bloodline.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was weird. I'm like, okay, this isn't making sense. She was older than me, so we really wasn't around each other, within the same environment like that. And like, okay, God, whatever this is, whatever you have me going through this for, is for a purpose. And I rocked it as hard as I could within that entire journey up until now.
What role did other family members play? I know you had a younger brother, just in your healing process. And because they also lost someone too to this same disease. And then here you are diagnosed with the same thing.
Well, my mom, hands down, was my biggest advocate. Um, she went to every doctor's appointment with me because she was a little bit more versed with going through it with my sister. So to be completely honest, at those appointments, I heard nothing. All I heard was womp, 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 womp. I didn't hear what stage. I did hear the stage. I knew I was a stage 1 and I had an aggressive form of breast cancer. But had my mom not been there, I would not have known half of the things that I needed to know going through this journey. My brother, he, encouraged me all the time, like, you are so beautiful, because you lose your hair, you lose everything. And I'm just like, I cannot believe I'm going through this right now. I had hair down to the middle of my back. I was feeling myself. And it's like, man, I can't believe I'm about to go through this, So he was an advocate for me. My daughter, even though she lost her auntie to it, she stepped up to help with her brother. I didn't have to ask her, like, hey, can you make sure he has his clothes for school? Or because I still worked. I still did what I needed to do through chemo, radiation. And at that time, I was married. he did his part with helping with the children. But my family, hands down, was my greatest support from my mom. My grandmother would call and pray with me to make sure my mind was in the right, atmosphere. Because a lot of times going through that, especially if you don't have anyone that's been through it, it's like, how do you know what I feel? You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know anything of what I'm feeling right now. So I do thank my family, because honestly, even though I'm the strong one, without them, I would not have made it.
I
I
always
couldn't have done it.
I always say the support system is so vital to your survival. Like it pushes you to survive because you have these people, that's depending on you, that's rooting for you, that's pushing for you to come through this. I'm wondering, what was your conversation like with your daughter about your diagnosis? Like, how did you break the news to her?
Um, so when I found out that I was diagnosed, luckily my mom and I, we only stay like maybe 15 minutes away from each other, and she got there immediately. Um, and I broke down and I cried. I think that was the first time that I cried, and I just fell in my mother's arms and I said, I have to tell Tania, and both of my children are ones that feed off of my emotion. So I had to make sure that I was in the right frame of mind to have that conversation with her. Again, losing her aunt, her first thing was death. So I had to just explain to her that, God gives his toughest battle to his strongest people. And I'm going to get through this. Before being diagnosed, I was a very happy-go-lucky person. I do believe that that's another thing that helped me get through this. So I was able to still laugh with her, do things with her. Luckily, chemo really didn't take me down to that, but I will always talk to her and I will always allow her to see that I was okay. I even allowed her to go to a doctor's appointment just so she could see the process of what I went through. Um, but I was just open and honest with her. I tried to be as transparent as I could, but not scare her either. I know for her, it was rough to see me change. I lost all my hair, and she wasn't used to seeing me like that. So I was just very open, very honest, allowed her to be emotional through the process. I didn't force her to, you have to be strong through this, because if you're not strong, I can't be strong. No, if you want to cry, that's okay to cry, because I have my moments too. I might not do it in front of you, but it's okay to have those moments. So I just allow her to be emotional, process through it, and know that it's okay not to be okay through this process.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we forget that when we receive a cancer diagnosis, the entire family is dealing with cancer, not just that one person. So it's important to include the children, especially in on the journey, so they can be a part of your healing process, and not to leave them out. Like you said, a lot of times they do feel what that person is. They can, feel the emotional part of what's going on if something is wrong with you. So I would say don't hide it. Don't leave the kids out, explain it and tell it to them in their own language so that they can process it themselves and be able to know what's going on. But I wouldn't say hide it. Yeah. So that I'm glad that you were open and honest with your daughter and that she stepped up to help take care of her brother. That's important because you can use all of the hands when you're going through a diagnosis like that.
That's very true.
Why do you
Very
believe why
true.
do you believe in I'm sorry, why do you believe in sharing your journey right now to what's so important about sharing your journey to encourage other individuals?
Because I want people to know that it does not have to define you. Yes, you are sick and your body is going through something, but it is not the end all be all. So I think that is one of the big reasons why God chose me to go through the journey. Um, One of the prayers that I did ask God is just let my spirit remain the same. I don't want to lose my spirit. I still did videos on Friday. I would have chemo on Wednesday. And I would do inspirational videos on Friday, and people did not know. I would just put on a headscarf, and I know some people was like, well, wait a minute, something's off with her. But I felt as though if I could show people that despite what I'm going through, I'm still happy. I'm still praising God in the midst of it all. And I wanted to encourage that next person to know that you are not alone. I'm in the fight with you. I know what you are going through. I know what you feel. So that's why now I try to advocate as much as I can and show people that you got this. Yeah, you might be going through a journey, but guess what? Your sister over here is with you. I'm praying with you. I'm fighting with you. And that energy that you don't have, I'm going to give you that energy each and every time that you see me. So that's one of the reasons why I try to talk as much as I can. Like when you reached out immediately, yes, let me tell my story. Yes, I lost my sister 2 years prior to me being diagnosed, and look at me now. You can't tell what I went through unless I tell you what I went through. So that's why it's important for me to speak up and advocate and let people know that this is not an end all be all. You still will live. You still will have life, and it's just a season.
Yes, I always say it's a chapter. It's not the whole. It may even be a page in that book. So something that you have to go through. I wonder, what was your faith like before going through the cancer journey? Like, how is your relationship with God, and how is it now?
So my relationship with God before I got diagnosed was when I told myself, I need to get closer to God. My prayer life was there, but to be completely honest, I really didn't understand faith. I knew what it was because my mom would talk about it. I knew what it was because you go to church and you hear about it. My grandmother would tell me about it. And it wasn't until I went through my cancer journey that I understood what faith really was. And my relationship got so much stronger within God because, a lot of times for me, I read scripture. And one of the scriptures that really stuck with me going through my journey was Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And going through that journey, I understood what strength from Christ truly is. I didn't know how I was doing half of the stuff that I was doing until I really got into that word and understood, okay, God, you've given me this. You're putting me in a position to where I have the strength through you. This is not me. So that's another reason why I encourage people, because it's like, I just had chemo on Wednesday, and here I am Friday bouncing off the walls, knowing I shouldn't, because I just had this pick that I put in. But wow, God, now I understand. Faith without works is dead. If I say that I have faith in you, I can't be worried. I can't be concerned. And going through this process really helped me to understand who God is and what He is capable of doing. So going through it and after the journey, my relationship with God, that's my homie. That's my best friend. I talk to him like I talk to my daughter, like I talk to my mom. If I'm in my car, I can just say, thank you, Jesus, because I understand what a faith walk is and what He can do in the midst of storms. Not only did I go through cancer, I went through a divorce in the midst of going through cancer. So when I know what God is and who He is, my faith even grew stronger within Him.
Wow. What type of legacy do you want to leave for your children, or you want your children to have, as it relates to you being resilient and as it relates to the faith part of it as well?
I want my legacy to be that I always kept God first in everything, and that you are capable of doing anything with God on your side. And you have to have that relationship. It can't be off of what I tell you or what your grandmother tell you or what your great grandmother tell you. It's your own personal faith walk. Yes, I do know that my grandmother and my mom, everybody prays, but you have to be able to have those prayers for yourself. So all the time I tell my daughter, this is your life, not mine. So I want you to have faith in God and know that He's going to bring you through any and all things. Same thing with my son. He has a spirit that is unlike any other, and I just want him to be able to keep that faith within God and know that your mom was resilient because of you and because God placed you in my life and he knew that I needed you for a reason. So I know I tell them I be in their butt a lot of times, but it's out of love. And I know that God gave them to me to get through this, because without my kids and my family, I don't think I would be here without them.
I love that. I love it. If you are tuned in to Warriors Talk, we are live on Intellectual Radio. My special guest is Tamika Walker, and we're talking about from diagnosis to purpose. You guys, make sure you share the show out so that someone that needs this information will be able to listen to it. So I wanted to know, what did the death of your sister do for your advocacy work?
It had me to want to do some of everything. Like, what can we do to get this out? My family and I, we wanted to start a non-for-profit organization with it. That has not happened as of yet, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. I love to talk. So I'm like, maybe I can do a podcast or encourage other people so that they know. But it really pushed me to educate people, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's hereditary. Oh, I could never get it. It could never come to me. So it's like, no, you don't know that. You have to do what you have to do for you. Had my sister probably got a mammogram earlier, she might have still been here. By the time she got her mammogram, she was already at a stage 4. So I try to encourage people, it's a scary thing to hear that you have breast cancer, but early detection is key. So that's one thing that I do push as well from her experience. Detection is key. Yes, they have a machine that will tug and pull on them, but I'd rather get tugged and pulled so that I'm here to live. Not tug and pull at all, and you going off the face of the earth when it's something that you could have controlled. So that's one of the things that after her passing, it was, I have to do something. I have to tell people. I have to be able to get out there. So that's when I started to go live a little bit more, speaking on breast cancer.
I think that's important. You brought up an important part, because I feel like there's so many stories out here about the mammogram and herds and women not wanting to get it because of that, those stories being spread around. But to do it for just those couple of minutes and to know where you stand, it is worth what is. And it's really not pain. People think it's painful, and maybe some people may experience pain when they're going through the mammogram, but it may be for a couple of minutes for you to know if you have cancer in your breast or not, or if you have to go for further testing. It would be worth it to go through it for those couple of minutes than to go through chemo, surgery, radiation, and having biopsies.
That's so true. That's exactly what I tell people. Would you want to be hurt for a little bit to elongate your life? Or would you not want to have a little bit of pain and be gone? It's not, it doesn't hurt at all. And I know I show people, like, before I was diagnosed, I was 44 triple D. So I was heavy chested, and I would go get my annual check. The doctor couldn't even feel it. So had I not gotten a mammogram, I don't know if I would be sitting here talking to you today.
Wow. I'm all about advocacy when it comes to breast cancer. How can you ensure that the work that you're doing for advocacy goes beyond awareness to inspire the community to take action?
What I'm currently trying to do now is, with the podcast that I have, I want to also connect with the cancer treatment center that I went to. They have different partnerships that they have. So I've already communicated with one of the individuals there, because I would like to start doing things like different events. It doesn't have to be where it's in specifically the month of October. We can celebrate and encourage throughout the year. It doesn't have to be 1 month out the year. So I'm trying to work with her to where I can have different events locally. I'm here in Bolingbrook. Maybe I can go to different churches and have conversations about it. I also want to be able to have my daughter, she can advocate and explain how it impacted her as a child so that she's able to maybe counsel some individuals that have children that are going through it. So I try to, in any way that I can, communicate with other individuals. I do communicate even on Facebook. I meet a lot of individuals on there that have gone through the journey. So we communicate with each other that way. And we're trying to come up with different groups and different things that we can do so that this is something, especially within our culture. Um, I want us as African American women to unite with each other, tell your story. It will help somebody else out. And that's another reason why I try to speak, is because we got to help each other. We can't not tell a story, um, because I know sometimes it can get to a point. I've talked to a lot of cancer survivors and they don't want to relive it. But for me, I'd rather relive it so that I can save somebody's life.
Absolutely. As it relates to the podcast, what unique perspectives do you feel like your podcast would bring to listeners?
Authentic. I think a lot of times when it comes to social media and things like that, it has been watered down to where you cannot authentically express yourself. And with this podcast, I want to authentically express myself. This is exactly what it is. This is my journey and what I went through. Here are pictures. Here are things going through the journey. I made sure to take a lot of pictures so that I'm able to share that with other individuals. You know, a lot of times when people think, oh, reconstruction is done right away. No, ma'am. There's a process that you have to go through. Oh, when you got your surgery done, what was the recuperation? I have pictures of the tubes that I had. So those are things that I want to be able to show to people. And then look at me now. I do have scars that will probably never go away, but I'm here. I'm here for my children. I'm here to educate and be here for other people. So I think authenticness is what I would like to bring to the podcast that I am looking to bring out there to others.
What advice could you give to caregivers who are supporting someone with cancer?
It's okay not to be okay. And it's okay not to know the words to say. Just your presence sometimes is enough. Just a hug is enough. And I know that was a huge thing for me going through my journey is a lot of people say that they didn't know what to say because I'm always the one that's helping them or uplifting them. And I said, well, you would never know because you've never been through it before. So all I need is your presence. Just be there and give yourself grace to know that you being there is more than enough.
I like that. If you could speak to your younger self, what words of wisdom would you share about resilience and living with purpose?
Don't worry about the opinions of other people. As long as you know that you are in tune with God and doing things according to His command, don't worry about others because you'll miss out on so many blessings worried about what other people think and what other people feel.
Yeah, I like that. So tell me, in what ways do you see yourself as a warrior?
To be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. A lot of people say that to me. I guess for me, not allowing what I went through to weigh me down. Um, Going through cancer was a lot within itself, and then on top of that, a divorce. Um, I've never lost my spirit through it, and I think that's nobody but God doing. You know, He allowed me to. You birthed a purpose within me, and I want to fulfill that purpose for Him. So I think that's what makes me the warrior that I am. Is keep going. Don't stop. Don't allow the world or allow sometimes people can say things to weigh you down. But for me, what I have learned, let go and let God and live.
And how would you encourage others to embrace their inner warrior, even though they may be going through a tough season in life?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How would you encourage others to embrace their inner warrior, even though they may be going through a tough season in life?
Surround yourself with the right individuals. That's huge, is to have that support. For me, I lost a lot of friends that I thought would be there. Um, that showed a lot for me, is who was there. And pray. When you pray and you connect to God, He's going to allow things to come up and out of you that you would have never thought. And even to this day, I sit back like, God, that was nobody but you. So to God be the glory for that. But prayer, I would tell that individual to pray and stay focused on the things that matter. Because when you do that, everything else will fall into place. I think a lot of times we're so concerned with looking at the next person and seeing what they're doing, but they just have to focus on what the purpose is for you, because we all have a different purpose, and just stay in line with what's true to you.
Wow. Well, I have a comment from Instagram, Live Life Better, and she says she commend and congratulate you. Continue healing. The one thing that she would say to her diagnosis did give her was boldness, and she needed it to bring her to where she is today.
Ooh, that's good. Yes. I did not, a lot of times going through it, I'm still shocked. I still am like, you did that. God did that. And He allowed you to be here. I would have never, ever thought that I would go through something like that, chemo, radiation, reconstruction. So I do thank God for allowing me to be here. I thank you for having this platform to speak on this, because it is very important, and I think sometimes this gets lost because, like you stated in the beginning, breast cancer has become so prevalent that there's a need for this. There's a need to see everybody's different story, because we're all unique in our own way, and we all have fought the fight together.
Yes. My thing was when I was done with my journey, at first I was really private when I was going through, because I felt like I needed to protect myself from any outside negativity, wanting to input on how I was healing and what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And then when I decided to open up, I was like, oh, I'm not going to keep my mouth closed. Like, I'm going to make sure I tell any and everybody about what I went through and what happened. And so I've been doing that for over a decade now. And one of the things that stuck out to me was awareness. And I feel like awareness is not enough. Like, awareness does not bring action. It doesn't equal action. You can, inform people all day, but it doesn't really always prompt or lead them to action. And so the whole premise of the show is to move away from awareness towards taking action. So what is it that you could do today, just hearing Tamika Walker's story? What can you do today to take action to move you beyond awareness and not sit in that? And a lot of times it's just that, it's taking action, taking the first step, going to get the mammogram, talking to your family members about what's going on in your family, so that you would know, you would be alarmed, you would know what to tell doctors when you go to the doctor, like you did. Yeah, my sister was diagnosed, she died of breast cancer, so hey, you're gonna have to see me, do something, give me some type of screening. Like, no, you know advocate for yourself. That's another way of taking action. There's so many things that we can do, and not just sit in the awareness is good because it gives you the knowledge, right? But then you have to move past, take that knowledge and move past it, and put it into action. And that's what this is all about, is taking action, making sure people are being proactive with their health and not waiting for something to happen. And then we jump on the bandwagon and then be like, oh yeah, I want to do this. No, do it before. Do it
Exactly.
before. And that's what it's just
That part.
I wanted to know about. A lot of us have these defining moments when we have a cancer diagnosis. And this is a moment that you may have been fighting for a while, and then all of a sudden something hits you. You could be going through a difficult patch during your journey, and then something hits you to say, oh, I'm going to survive this, or oh, this is what this means. Did you have a moment to where it was like a light bulb that turned on when it came to your diagnosis?
I think the one for me would be chemo brain. They did have a conversation with me to let me know, oh, you might have chemo brain. I'm like, what is that? Oh, well, you might forget something. It might be something that you normally are on top of. I went to the store one day and I'm at the checkout, swipe my card. I could not remember my PIN number to save my life. I'm like, what is my PIN number? I know the PIN number. I know I just used the card not too long ago. And I was gonna call my mom and I'm like, she don't know my PIN number. I didn't give my PIN number to my mom. So I told the lady, I said, you know what? I'll just come back. And I left the store and I sat in the car like, this is what they meant by chemo brain. Like you can forget something like so minute that it's something that you normally would do any other time. So I said, you know what? To prevent this in the future, now I write things down so that I can remember it. And I went to my family and I said, some things I might not remember. So please forgive me if it's something that you have told me. If I do not write it down, I will not remember. But that was the probably right then and there is when I remembered. They did mention chemo brain when I first got diagnosed, and I said I would never go through it, and I did. I surely did.
Was there a why me moment going through this cancer journey?
I think my why me was when I first lost my hair. My mom had told me like, I can't believe that your hair hasn't come out yet. What's going on? I'm like, well, why are you trying to force it to come out? Like, let me hold on to my hair as long as I can. And it was one day I just went into the restroom and I just did one of these, and my hair came out and in my head. And I said, oh my God. I said, but I gotta do my video today. It was a Friday. So I said, this can't happen right now. Why is this happening to me right now? Why? And I think after that, I asked my husband at the time, cut it off. And he's like, no, why would you cut it? I said, I don't want to keep pulling my hair out in clumps like this. It has to go. So I think that was my first moment when I asked God, why me? Why do I have to go through this at this moment in time?
Wow. I remember getting my hair cut and I purchased a wig that looked just like my hair. So when my girlfriend cut my hair, I just put the wig on. So people just thought it was my hair because it looked exactly like the haircut that I had. And I just rocked it until I couldn't rock it anymore. And I just started switching up on the different type of wigs that I probably wear, and to try something different. I just started switching it up like, okay, let's just try this, let's just try that, since I have the bald head to do it. So yeah, very, very,
Mhm.
very interesting and a very humbling experience to
It is.
yes, just to look at yourself and be like, who is this? Who is this person in this mirror that I'm looking at, And I think the bald head for me made me realize you're sick. You're sick.
Yeah.
Before the hair fell out, it's like, oh, okay, they said I have cancer, but as soon as I shaved my head And I looked in the mirror and I said, oh, because we associate on TV, when they talk about cancer, they have the bald-headed patient looking all frail and skinny. And I said, oh God, I'm sick when I saw that. Yeah. And I think that's why I probably wore the wig all the time. Like when I was out in the house, I would wear the scarf, but when I was out, it would always be a wig. I didn't start rocking my my short hair, until it got maybe an inch or two long. But the bald head to me equal you're sick.
I relate to you on that. I was the same way. They would tell me, "Oh, go get a wig." I'm like, "I'm too hot.
It is.
I don't
Or
want that."
itchy. Yeah.
So, right? I'm like, we just gonna have to do what we gotta do. So I just rock my bald head. And to be completely honest, I wanted to cut my hair before I got diagnosed. I'm like, oh, I'm sick of all this hair. I just want to cut it. And I said, you know what, Five, I hear you. You heard what I said, but you took it to a whole nother level of cutting hair. So I knew if I could rock a bald head, I can do anything. So I tell my grandmother now, like, listen, I will cut this hair straight off again because I know that I can rock a bald head.
Yes. Everybody can't do that, girl. Everybody can't. Everybody can't. Everybody can't rock it. Tamika, I have enjoyed your testimony. Can you please give the listeners some words of wisdom as it relates to individuals from that may be newly diagnosed and they're trying to get to their purpose?
Oh, you are strong. You are already a warrior because you've already faced that first hurdle of being diagnosed and being told that you are diagnosed. And God chose you for a reason. You have a story that's going to come from this. You already a walking testimony, and you have some sisters that are waiting to celebrate with you at the end. So, girl and man, don't give up. Don't you dare get in your feelings. And if you do, it's okay. It's okay not to be okay, but don't sit up in that thing too long because he already told you his promises are yes and amen. And if ever you need somebody to talk to, I got you. And I'm here with you.
And how can listeners stay connected to you?
They can stay connected to me. I am on Facebook, Tamika Lady T Walker, Instagram, Sweet T _35. I'm on TikTok at Lady Strong 15. And if ever you want to talk, I do have my telephone number that you can reach out to me because it takes a village. It takes a village to get through it. And again, you are not alone. And I know when you're going through the journey, it can get hard, but I promise you, it's a season. It's only a season.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tamika, for sharing your journey, for just lending us your wisdom and your experience. I appreciate it. And I just wish you many more blessings. And I send healing vibes your way.
Thank you so very much.
And good luck on the podcast as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for having me. I appreciate this. And you keep fighting so good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're
you guys
welcome.
Make sure you connect with Tamika Walker, you guys. Thanks again. You guys don't go anywhere. Stay right here on Intellectual Radio. Coming up next is Pillow Talk with God. And I just want to highlight my sponsors. I have Gloria Dotson with Mary Kay, and she's catering to all of your beauty needs from head to toe. Make sure you tell her that Warriors Talk sent you. And Warriors Talk is always looking for individuals to share their journey. You can inbox me that you are ready to share. And we will love to hear your testimony so that you can empower and educate others about your cancer journey. So I want you to join me next week right here on Intellectual Radio at 6 p.m. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warrior Talk with Lady ReShell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1 on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Please join us evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on IntellectualRadio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.